So I've been playing some Morrowind lately for the first time, and it's pretty fun. And as most people have, I would assume, have grown a strange fascination with the golden embodiment of no homo bro, Dagoth Ur. This fascination was definitely exemplified by the great memes that have been going around recently. But I must say, as a man who claims to be a god, his outfit doesn't really seem to match up to his personality. The golden mask does for sure, but a dirty loincloth and some anime foot wraps are kinda lacking in my opinion. And of course, when Turple D don't like something, Turple D is gonna fix it. So will you join me? Let's get this started. In order to get into Dagoth Ur's lore, I gotta explain some ridiculously overcomplicated Elder Scrolls stuff into a digestible baby brain version. Little disclaimer, I am not an Elder Scrolls lore master by any means. I'm just trying my best. So send all questions and complaints to Fudge Muppet. Okay, so essentially, the world of Elder Scrolls is the dream of a being called the Godhead, and when someone in the world becomes aware that they are in a dream, there's two possibilities. One, they zero sum, which essentially means they can't comprehend the idea that they don't exist, and they just Alt F4. That's why there are no more dwarves anymore in the Elder Scrolls. Race-wide enlightenment, and bam, all gone. The second possibility is that they achieve something called Kim, with a CH, which is essentially lucid dreaming. You know you're in a dream, but you still believe you're real, usually to having an enormously large ego, and so you ascend to godhood because of it. Dagoth Ur has done the opposite of Kim, kinda. It gets complicated. When a person dies in the Elder Scrolls world, they go to their afterlife of choice, with some exceptions. Nords have Sovngarde, Redguards have the Far Shores, etc., etc. And eventually they return to something called the Dream Sleeve, and are reset and reincarnated, and the cycle continues. Except Dagoth Ur, who did not enter the Dream Sleeve because he has a connection with an artifact called the Heart of Lorkhan, which we'll get into later, and now is existing outside of the cycle. And when he dreams inside reality. So now Dagoth Ur thinks he is Godhead adjacent in some way. So what is the Heart of Lorkhan? And how does it affect Dagoth Ur? Well, before we get into that, we need to talk about something called Dragon Breaks. Dragon Breaks are spots in the timeline that have events happening in various ways all at once. And all of them are canon until Todd, hi Todd, decide what really happens. Okay? Okay. So early in the timeline, the dwarves found an artifact called the Heart of Lorkhan, and the king of the dwarves made tools so that they could make a cool giant robot out of the heart. Until this cool elf guy named Indorel Nerevar showed up with his buddies, Vivek, Amalexia, Sotelsil, and hey, look at that, a little guy named Vorin Dagoth. After a swift battle between the dwarves and the Nerevar and his radical rascals, they managed to get the tools that the dwarves had created, and despite Vorin's warnings to destroy them, the group decided to keep them locked away. So Vorin Dagoth, butthurt no one listened to his cool idea, took the tools and became a god and tried to kill everyone. Luckily, he lost. But Vivek, Almalexia, and Sotasil then got all pissy and were like, fuck you, we want to be gods too, and killed Nerevar and pissed off Azura, who is like the main lady for the Dark Elves. So she changed the entire race from these super cool looking, golden elves to the Dunmer that are now known today. Or it happened completely differently because this was a dragon break. Apparently there were Nords involved sometimes. I don't really know if I know. Remember when this video was on character design? Years later, Vivek, Alma, and Sotha were strolling up to renew their yearly God Power subscription. They go by the Tribunal now, by the way. And guess who they find all juiced up on their power? Their ex-boy, Vorn, who's wearing some spiffy new threads, or lack thereof, and changed his name to Dagoth Ur. And he proceeds to beat the shit out of them and cause one of the deadliest plagues ever. Why is he doing it, though? Well, make a long story short, he essentially wants to create a new theocracy and conquer the world, but it's a lot more complicated than that. But you go do your own research. I did a lot. So now that we got that out of the way, what do I not like about this design? I just don't think it's cocky enough. If you've played the game, Dagoth Ur is a very charismatic, larger-than-life character, dripping with egotism and a sense of superiority. And when you see him, he kind of looks like a hobo. I think the golden red colors really suit him, especially in contrast with his cooler Dunmore blue skin tone, but I think he just needs a little push to go in the right direction. So let's get into it. I went all out and actually rendered the piece this time. As you can see, I kept the initial design pretty intact, but just added on to it. I added a lot more golden armaments as well as jewels to really push that egotism. But in turn, I kept the dirty ash-ridden red of the loincloth to show that beneath all this golden presentation is a corrupted, angry little elf. I think it gives an interesting contrast. Also, I added a tweaked version of his house crest, he's a part of this thing called the Sixth House, onto the giant circular belt buckle. Why is it so big? Because it's funny, and I felt Dagoth would definitely want to rep his where he came from and his whole, again, it's just all feeding back into egotism. I did make him a tad more blue as well for better contrast with the golden red. Essentially, he's just primary colors. That's all I have for today. Hi, it's off-script Turple Daggers again. I wanted to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And the second part of the Guilty Gear tier list should be coming out next. I also have some extra ideas for new characters coming up. I also think a interesting idea for me, at least, would just to be a design appreciation, break down what really works with a design instead of just, what doesn't really work with it. I think that could be, you could probably plan that with some of the Konosuba characters in the future. But that's all I wanted to share with you. Please like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to. It's all up to you, man. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.